The visibility is 10, the ceiling's broken at 1,000, and we're gonna experience CFIT on the approach.
Your airspeed's alive, your indicators are showing green. I'm gonna maintain 8,000. 65 rotate. She's flying.
Hey MzeroA Nation, Jason here, bringing you another great animation from the team here at MzeroA.com. UPS 1354 is what we're talking about here today. It is 10 miles visibility, 1,000-foot broken layer. It is 4 in the morning when this accident happens and the crew is a little bit fatigued, but we're going to ultimately experience CFIT. CFIT is controlled flight into terrain. It's where you fly a perfectly good airplane into terrain. It is usually purely pilot error. There's some other factors that could work into that. Think back to something like the Kobe Bryant accident. I guarantee you're going to see CFIT in that final report when that comes out. Let me read to you the ATIS here, at least a summary of it here. And again, I got my notes here, so when you see me looking down or anything like that, that's what I'm looking at here. Winds calm, visibility 10, sky conditions, ceiling 1,000 broken. The localizer for runway 18 was in use. Now remember, for those of you who are not instrument-rated pilots, a localizer is not what we call a precision approach, meaning there's not a vertical glide path that takes you down. In fact, it takes you down to a minimum descent altitude. It's not a precision approach. They were planning, they had actually briefed for runway 6 and 24. However, because of a NOTAM, that was actually closed. So as they're getting ready to shoot this localizer, and they weren't crazy about the localizer approach, the runway was much, much shorter. They knew they're gonna really have to get on the brakes, really work to slow this airplane down. They began to brief the localizer for 18. Now, as they're briefing this and as they're working through this here, they're also working to configure the flight management computer for what's called a profile approach. And I just told you a non-precision approach. A localized approach is a non-precision approach. But in general aviation, we fly an LNAV plus V approach, where the plus V is just some vertical guidance to help you get down there. It's still a non-precision approach. Think of it like that. Well, that was loaded, but never really activated. Let's pick it up with the CVR here. Well, did you hear any of Papa? I didn't hear any of it. They're saying 6 and 24 is closed. They're doing the localizer 18. Yeah, localizer 18. It figures. I know, we're a little heavy. All right, I guess, get the briefing guide out and review the approach setup. And GPS primary doesn't apply to the localizer. RMP doesn't apply. And they go through kind of briefing their entire approach and they're working through it. You hear them going back and forth. They're not very excited about shooting this localizer approach to 18. As we get a little bit closer here, ground speed checks. You hear the sound of multiple clicks of the landing gear coming down. And of course, they kept you high. They're talking about the controller, keeping them up just way too high. If you've ever done any instrument flying, you've been in that situation. No fault of any controllers, just kept them up too high.
Birmingham, UPS 1354, ordered 1,000, we have Papa looking for Lewis.
UPS 1354, heavy Birmingham Tower, descend to maintain 3,000, and runway 6 is still closed. You want the localizer 18?
Yes, sir, the localizer 18 will work.
Do that.
First officer says, okay, we'll get it down. Oh, we know, we'll get it down. All right, we're doing good then. And he goes, I know, this is unbelievable here. We're coming up fast. Captain says, I'm diving for the airport. This is unbelievable, trying to get down. They get cleared for the localizer. Localizer's alive, says the captain here. They get everything set. They ID the localizer. He goes, you can activate that. Captain talking about activating the flight management computer. Good idea on the localizer, still focused on identifying the localizer, says the first officer. Activate that final if you haven't already, says the captain. All right, so they're working their way down. Speed check, slats extended. They're working. Captain says, unbelievable. I know, says the first officer. They're still talking about being high. Honestly, they're only about 200 feet too high at this point. Now, that's still quite a ways for an Airbus A300 to work its way on down here. They're going through flaps 40, speed 130, 137, landing gear check. Set the missed approach altitude as they're working through everything here. You hear the sound of multiple clicks. Speed brakes armed, ignition continues to relight, landing checklist complete. Unbelievable, they kept us high here. Let's see. Okay, you're in vertical speed, okay? I mean, they're using a vertical speed mode to come down. And at this point too, it's important to illustrate a non-precision approach is configured. They want you to come down at about 700 feet per minute. To give you some perspective, a precision approach is configured to bring you down at 500 feet per minute. So it's a little more aggressive on a non-precision approach because you want to get down. Again, there's no glide path typically unless there's what we call vertical guidance. They want to get down to what's called MDA, the minimum descent altitude, and hold that until they end up seeing the runway. That's how a non-precision approach works. So he's doing vertical speed mode to get down, and they're coming down 12, 13, 1,400 feet per minute, almost twice as fast as they should be coming down here. Put it in vertical speed mode. And eventually the captain's going to hand fly the approach down once he realizes they've missed their glide path here. In fact, he says, yep, I'm actually gonna have to, and we are way high. At this point, they kick off the autopilot and come on down. Interesting, the captain here says, all right, DA, meaning decision altitude. It's interesting, that stands out to me because decision altitude is set up on a precision approach, where when I get to that altitude, I make a decision. This is a non-precision approach. So just a little change of vernacular there, but decision altitude's 1,200, all right? 1,200, yeah. All right, 2 miles to go. It wouldn't happen to be actual. And of course, at this point too, as they're looking to break out, remember the ATIS I read you at the very beginning showed broken at 1,000. Who's ever known an ATIS, ASOS, AWOS to lie to them before? Well, this one did a little lying because they get down to 1,000 and they're still in actual conditions here. Oh, I know, they say. All of a sudden, sync rate, there it is, I see the runway. They're hearing sync rate as they're seeing the runway there, hand flying this. Oh, I got the runway, 12 o'clock. Yep, got the runway in sight. Confirm autopilot's off. All righty. They're coming down, so they hear some rustling. Then they hear a sound of impact. The volume increases for 5 seconds. Too low, terrain, too low, terrain. Did I just hit something, says the captain? There's a few curse words in there, and takes us all the way up to our crash. That escalated quickly, didn't it? Let me read to you what the NTSB has to say about this. They gave it 6 factors that caused the accident. 1, the flight crew's failure to properly configure and verify the flight management computer for a profile approach. The captain's failure to communicate his intentions to the first officer once it became apparent that they did not capture the vertical profile. The flight crew's expectation, the expectation that they would break out at 1,000 feet. They trusted the ATIS, right? And we all trust the ATIS, sometimes a little bit too much. 4, the first officer's failure to make the required minimums call out, though they were at minimums and then below minimums. 5, the captain's performance deficiencies, likely due to factors including but not limited to fatigue, distraction, confusion, consistent with performance deficiencies exhibited during training. Interesting. And 6, the first officer's fatigue due to acute sleep loss resulting from her inefficient off-duty time management. 6 factors. But what do you think the ultimate cause of all this is? Are you realizing that with accidents, and even back to what we learned earlier in the 31-Day Safer Pilot Challenge, it's never just one thing, is it? They were tired. Well, that contributed to it. But the weather being worse than was actually reported and forecasted, for that matter. The runway being that they expected, that had the precision approach, being NOTAM close, is a factor in this. All of these little things add up. I told you that escalated quickly. Everything kind of sounded fine. Yeah, they're a little bit high, but maybe you've been left high on an approach before. I know I have, and I was just trying to scoot on down and get on down quickly. Sometimes when we're too accommodating to controllers, sometimes when we're too accommodating to trying to force an approach and make it work, if you're in a position where you feel you have to descend at 1,400 feet per minute to get down on an approach, you need to go around. I know it's 4 in the morning. I know you've got overnight packages on there. I know you've got all these important duties, but your most important duty is to return home each and every night. What are some of your thoughts? What do you think? What were some other factors that contributed to UPS 1354? Can't wait to read your comments down here below this. And sorry to talk, about accidents that have fatalities, but I believe we'd be doing these pilots a disservice if we didn't take the time to learn more about the tiny things that snowball and add up that ultimately lead to a big accident. MzeroA Nation, can't wait to read your comments down below, hear your thoughts on how we can take this to be safer, smarter pilots. Have a blessed, amazing, incredible rest of your day, and most importantly, remember that a good pilot is always learning. Have a great day, everybody. We'll see you. Jason again. Hey, listen, if you think these videos are amazing, and I hope you're loving the 31-Day Safer Pilot Challenge, but if you think the free videos we put out here on YouTube are amazing, wait until you see inside of our online ground school. MzeroA has you covered for private, instrument, commercial, and your fundamentals of instructing, exams, written tests, check rides, and making you that safe real-world pilot. Take a 2-week free trial of it. No strings attached, no credit card needed at MzeroAtrial.com. I look forward to seeing you in there, seeing you on the member-only webinars, which we do each week, and seeing you just excelling in 2022 in your aviation journey.